In the age of iron and shadows, where kingdoms rose and crumbled in blood, forgotten tales still whisper beneath the dust of old worlds. These are the stories forged in darkness. Welcome to Ironbound Tales from the anvil of old worlds. The wind off the marshes smelled of rot and iron. Sir Alaric pulled his cloak tighter and spurred his war-horse onward, the creature's hooves squelching in the mud. Behind him trailed a column of men-at-arms, their faces taut with exhaustion and fear. They had marched for days under gray skies, following rumors of a beleaguered fortress and whisperings of something far worse than a siege. Blackthorn Keep had once been a proud stone outpost overlooking a narrow pass between two moors. Now its towers were nothing but jagged silhouettes against the storm clouds. As Alaric approached, he could see the flicker of torches along the battlements and the occasional flash of steel in the pale light. Out on the plain lay the tents and siege works of Lord Harrow's rebels, a forest of stakes, wooden palisades, and machines meant to grind stone into dust. "We are too late," muttered one of the knights, but Alaric raised a gauntleted hand to silence him. A messenger had reached the king 2 days ago. Blackthorn had held for weeks, but last night strange cries had been heard beneath the earth. Men in the camp had woken screaming, raving about eyes in the dark. Lord Harrow's men, hardened raiders all, had fled their own trenches by morning, leaving their siege engines smoldering. Whatever threatened the keep now would not be deterred by fear or steel. As they neared the besiegers' abandoned camp, Alaric noted the carnage. Tents slashed open from within, blood pooled in the mud, and bodies that bore no wounds yet wore expressions of terror. Ravens scattered as his men dismounted to investigate. Under a fallen canvas, a young soldier's hand still gripped a talisman of St. Cuthbert. "No sign of fire," his sergeant said, voice hushed. "No arrows. It's as if their hearts burst." The gates of Blackthorn groaned open at his call, and the defenders hauled the newcomers inside with shaking arms. What was left of the garrison looked hollow-eyed, their armor dinged and rusty. "Sir Alaric!" cried an old woman in a steward's cloak. "Praise the saints! Reinforcements at last!" Her voice echoed in the courtyard, sounding wrong against the silence. "What happened here?" he asked. "And where is Lord Athol? He was meant to hold this keep." The steward, Mistress Heloise, wrung her hands. "Lord Athol is dead," she whispered. "He died 3 nights past. It was the screams that took him. He locked himself in the chapel, but the voices, they got into his head. He smashed his skull against the altar to make them stop." She gestured to the chapel door, still barred from the outside. Alaric suppressed a shudder. He had seen men driven mad in battle, but never by disembodied voices. They gathered in the hall, its tapestries damp with mist. Alaric listened as survivors spoke of their first hint that something unnatural lurked beneath. A week ago, while digging latrine trenches, soldiers had uncovered an old well sealed with iron bands. Beneath it lay a narrow shaft and carved steps descending into darkness. Against orders, a few curious men had pried it open in search of relics or treasure. They had lowered a torch and found walls covered in strange symbols, the air thick with the smell of decay. Only one man returned, bloodless and babbling. That night, the ground shook, and voices, children and old men, men speaking in languages no one knew, whispered from the walls. Those who listened too long began to answer back and were never seen again. The well was sealed for a reason, Mistress Heloise said, eyes wide. Blackthorn was built atop the ruins of an older fort. Legends say the first lord struck a bargain with something beneath. When he betrayed it, the earth swallowed his keep. The stone above kept it trapped until those fools opened it. Alaric ran a hand over his beard, considering. Fear was a poison in men's hearts. But something real had emptied Harrow's camp. He could not retreat and leave whatever this was free to spread. He ordered his men to rest, to pray if that comforted them, and to fill their flasks with holy water from the chapel. They would descend into the depths as soon as the torches were ready. They entered the well after midnight, when the mist in the courtyard thickened and the whispers seemed loudest. The shaft was narrow. They had to go single file. Torches spit resinous smoke. The stone steps descended far deeper than any garrison cellar should. Carvings marked the walls, serpents devouring their tails, a wheel of swords, a sun with 7 eyes. "These aren't Christian symbols," muttered Brother Arnulf, the chaplain. "This reeks of the old faiths, the ones we thought we burned out." At the base of the stairs lay a chamber cut from black stone, its ceiling vaulted and hung with chains. Iron doors along the walls had been rent open from within. The floor was slick, and the air stank of copper and mildew. As the torchlight moved, figures painted on the walls seemed to shift. Alaric's men tightened their grips on their weapons. "Ho there!" called the sergeant. "Show yourself!" The echo died in darkness. Then came the sound, soft at first, like the sigh of wind in a hollow tree. It rose in pitch, became a chorus until the chamber pulsed with voices overlapping, crying, pleading, laughing. "He comes," said a voice that could have been a child's, right beside Alaric's ear, though no one was near. "He forgot us. We hunger." Another voice, deep and feminine, hissed, "Breach and blood. They promised. They lied. Now we take." Shapes moved at the edge of the torchlight, pale, thin things, hunched and twisted. Their skin clung to bones, eyes sunken, yet burning with green flame. Their fingers ended in long claws, their mouths too wide and full of needle-like teeth. They were not ghosts. They were not men. Alaric knew fear then, the raw animal panic that makes one want to turn and run. He forced it down. "Stand your ground," he bellowed, raising a shield. "For the king, for your souls." The creatures rushed them shrieking. Steel bit into gray flesh. Fetid blood hissed like acid on armor. One beast leapt onto a soldier, clawing his face. Brother Arnulf thrust a cross against the creature's skin. It recoiled, screeching, smoke rising from the wound. It took 3 men to bring it down. Another creature melted into shadow and reappeared behind them, raking a soldier's back. The hall became a chaos of blades, screams, and hissing voices that never ceased. As they fought, Alaric sensed a throbbing beneath his feet, as if a huge heart beat in the earth. The voices changed, becoming a single chant. "He comes, he comes, he comes." He realized with cold clarity that the beasts were stalling them, holding them here. Something bigger was waking. He shouted to his men, "We must find the source! Follow me!" He pushed through, stepping over the corpses of creatures and comrades, and found another passage leading deeper. The tunnel was narrower. Slime dripped from the ceiling. It opened into a cavern so large his torch could not pierce its far side. In the center, a pool of dark water bubbled. Stone pillars rose from the pool to the ceiling, and etched upon them were the same ancient symbols. But his eyes were drawn to the figure rising from the pool. It was enormous, its head nearly brushing the cavern roof. Its flesh was like wet clay, constantly shifting, sprouting eyes and mouth that formed and vanished. Horns curved from what passed as a head, and tentacles writhed about its midsection. Where it stepped, stone steamed. It opened a great maw lined with teeth and spoke in a voice that vibrated Alaric's bones. "Who calls me?" it boomed. "Who breaks a pact and feeds me scraps when I hunger for kings?" Sir Alaric's men quailed. Brother Arnulf dropped to his knees, praying. Alaric lifted his sword, though it seemed absurd before such a thing. "I am Sir Alaric of Eastmoor," he shouted. "I serve the King and the Almighty. Return to whatever pit spawned you, creature." The thing laughed, a terrible sound. "The Almighty," it mocked. "I was here when the Almighty was but a word in the tongue of shepherds. Your king's ancestor bound me. He promised souls and blood to keep me from devouring his line. Then he died and the pact was forgotten. Your men opened my gate. I will have what is owed." Alaric's mind raced. A pact. An ancient lord had made a bargain with this being to protect his family. Breaking that pact had freed it. Could it be bound again? He looked at Brother Arnulf. The priest's eyes widened, understanding dawning. "An oath bound you," Arnulf said, voice trembling yet steady. "In the name of the one God who is above all, I renew that oath. By the king's authority, by holy writ, I command you back." The creature screamed, its tentacles writhing. The cavern shook. "You have no authority," it roared. "Your king's blood is not here. You are but worms." It lashed out, crushing a pillar. Stones rained down. Men scattered. Alaric dodged a fallen boulder and slipped, his torch going out. Darkness swallowed him, and in that darkness he heard the creature's breaths, smelled sulfur and rot. He fumbled for flint, but his hands were slick with blood. Through the din, he heard Heloisa's voice echo in his memory. The First Lord struck a bargain with something beneath. The stone above kept it trapped, yea, until those fools opened it. The stone above. Could the keep itself be a seal? If they could bring down the ceiling, collapse the cavern, perhaps they could trap it again. It was a desperate thought, but hope was thin. "Bring down the pillars," he shouted. "Cut the supports." His men, clinging to any command that sounded like salvation, set to work. They hacked at the carved columns with axes and swords. Brother Arnulf lifted his cross and chanted prayers louder, his Latin strong and clear, words echoing in the dark. The creature thrashed, its tentacles flailing, trying to reach them. It devoured one soldier whole, but another pillar cracked under their blows. The ceiling shuddered. Stone gave way with a thunderous crack. Rocks tumbled smashing into water and flesh. The cavern roof sagged. For a moment, the creature seemed to swell, mouths open in silent scream. Then tons of rock crashed down, plunging it and the pool beneath a mountain of rubble. A shock wave knocked everyone to the ground. Dust filled the air, choking lungs, coating tongues. The voices stopped. Alaric coughed, pushing himself up. Pain lanced through his leg, but it held. He called out names. Only 5 men answered. Brother Arnulf emerged from the dust, face gray but alive. "Is it over?" whispered one soldier. Alaric did not know. The cavern was a heap of broken stone. No movement came from beneath, no whispers. He offered a prayer of thanks to whatever power had listened. They limped back up the stairs into the keep. Dawn was breaking, light turning the mist pink. The men who remained blinked as if wakened from a nightmare. Mistress Heloise met them, tears on her cheeks. "Did you seal it?" she asked. Alaric nodded, too tired to speak. They buried their dead, burned the beasts' bodies, and sealed the well with iron and stones and every holy symbol they could find. Alaric ordered that no one speak of what lay beneath, lest curiosity bring doom again. As he and his few survivors rode out days later, leaving the Blackthorn behind, he looked back at the keep's silhouette. It seemed unchanged, just another fortress on the horizon. But he knew what slept beneath. He knew pacts made in desperation often birth monsters. And as the wind carried a distant whisper, he could not be certain the horror was truly gone. Yet he hoped. Hope, he had learned, is a harder armor than steel. From the ruins of the past, only fragments endure, echoes of battles, curses, and kings long turned to dust. If you wish to wander deeper into the forgotten, the next tale awaits.